You're with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
Let's walk the talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
7 minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, bonjour. Welcome to the Thursday edition of the Clement Manyathela Show. It's wonderful to have you with us here on 702. I hope you're well this morning, and I hope that you had a wonderful, wonderful holiday yesterday. We start with the 702 open line. As always, you can give us a call on 011-883-0702. If you prefer to send a WhatsApp voice note, you can do so on 072-702-1702. What's going on with the Patriotic Alliance leader, Gayton McKenzie? He was on Facebook again, live, yesterday, talking about Kenny Kunene and the demand that he be reinstated as Johannesburg MMC for transport, or else the PA will withdraw from any coalition with the ANC.
And we will form a coalition with the DA. I'm telling you today. We don't have that thing of now we'll never work with the DA in next election. We will form a coalition with the DA if they're going to treat us like that, that's ANC. We can't allow them to treat us like that. They probably think because I'm a minister, they can do what they like with the PA. Eka. You guys got men jokes. Show us. You don't put Kenny Kunene back. We will leave every coalition we have with the ANC, starting with JB Marks. Within 7 days, if Kunene is not back in his position, every PA member in JB Marks, every PA coalition with the ANC, you withdraw with immediate effect. Stay 1 day, 1 hour after instruction has gone out, that you must withdraw from every coalition we have with the ANC. We are not going to be told by Dada. Who does Dada think he is? I said every coalition you withdraw. I want to see one patriot that shows us after the SG sends you a message to say withdraw. You still didn't see that thing within 1 hour.
So, it's so weird. Like, why politicians don't just sit down and talk to each other? Remember, Julius Malema once made a similar threat. When was it? There was a time when Dunga was removed as an MMC, yes, in Ekurhuleni. And I remember Julius Malema made a threat. Maybe we should try find that clip as well. Said, if Dunga is not reappointed there, we're going to withdraw. Every single person must leave. And what happened? It never happened. That never happened. And that's what I thought when I heard Gayton McKenzie say this. And I thought, these politicians and the threats. And you know what? I did ask Kenny Kunene, because I spoke to Kenny Kunene on SABC earlier this week. And I said to him, if the 7 days deadline lapses, what happens? Is Gayton McKenzie going to resign as minister? And initially when he was responding to that question, he wasn't sure. He was like, well, yeah, until I had to push him to say it wouldn't make sense for Gayton McKenzie not to resign as the Minister of Arts and Culture, but expect other people to resign from their positions that have come as a result of the PA joining the Government of National Unity. But also, the Patriotic Alliance, have they even spoken to the ANC before they issued these threats? Because the ANC now says Kenny Kunene resigned, and since he has been cleared by that investigation that was commissioned by the PA, there hasn't been any official communication that has been cleared or that has been communicated to the ANC that this man is cleared, he's ready to come back to the job. So the ANC is saying, why are you not talking to us instead of going on Facebook and going to the media when you can directly have a conversation with us. So let me know your thoughts on the latest on that on 011-883-0702. Here's another story that I want us to keep a close eye on the open line. So there was a story that the Daily Maverick ran about 2 or so weeks ago of the current chief of staff in the office of the Minister of Social Development, Sisisi Tolashe. This chief of staff, listen to this, guys. This chief of staff is 22 years old, right? She happens to be the niece of the minister's special advisor, Mwako Khatla. And this 22-year-old, her qualifications for the role are so questionable. Listen to this. She has a diploma in information technology from Rosebank College in Limpopo, which is great. Her CV reveals that she has 1 year's experience. And you know what experience she has? Experience as manager, sales, and marketing, according to her CV, for the Rosebank College in Limpopo. What did her duties entail as manager, sales, and marketing for 1 year? The CV says her duties included, and I quote here, distributing promotional material and providing information about the college. Those were her duties. That's what's included in her CV. She is now the chief of staff for the Minister of Social Development at a salary of about 1.4 million rand annually in taxpayers' money. The Daily Maverick is reporting this morning that actually the legal department or the human resources department actually warned the minister that this woman doesn't qualify to be a chief of staff because that's a very senior role and she doesn't have the qualifications or even the experience for her to be put in a position like that. And apparently that was ignored. It clearly was ignored because the department and the minister went ahead and appointed this woman as the chief of staff. The director general clearly ignored that. Now here's another layer. This 22-year-old, her uncle, we're told, Khatla, previously worked for the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, also under Sisisi Tolashe. And he was charged there with 3 counts of gross misconduct when it was discovered that in addition to his job in Tolashe's office, he was also working for another government business entity, the Northwest Transport Investments Trading. So he basically drew salaries from both workplaces without disclosing it. And that's in contravention of the Public Service Act. Nothing has happened to him. He's now the minister's advisor, and now the niece has gotten a job as a chief of staff, according to these reports. So the Daily Maverick is now reporting that this chief of staff, this 22-year-old, has now been quietly replaced in her position. So they've now removed her because they saw that, because I also interviewed the Public Service Commissioner, Professor Somato Tafikeni, and I told him, this is crazy. How do you have a 22-year-old who doesn't have the right qualifications nor the experience to be in a position like that? But just because her uncle, who is the minister's advisor, somehow, because her uncle is the minister's advisor, then she gets to have a job like that, that's paid by you and I as taxpayers. And even Somato Tafikeni, who's the Public Service Commissioner, was shocked by that. So the Department of Social Development has quietly decided to remove her from that position, as if that somehow helps them evade accountability. That's not going to work. I've tried to get a hold of the DG. As always, he always has excuses. That's one DG I've ever come across in my career who always has excuses before he comes to do interviews. So he's given us an excuse again today. He says he's walking into a meeting, but we're going to keep hounding him. And if it means I can pre-record an interview with him at midnight, if that's when he's available, that's exactly what I will do so that I can come and play it for you.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Morning, Clement and team. I'm a Parayero report. We have heard this song before from the other Blue Party. Nothing new, stays the same. If a person wants to do something, do it. Do it and say, I've done this because I want you to reinstate this person. if you want this to continue, then reinstate the person. Not do this. I'm going to do this. If after between 7 days, song of the year, man.
Clearly, I think Minister Mackenzie has too much time on his hands because there's too little international sports games and public holidays where he can go and congratulate and send condolences. Yeah, if I'm Cyril, I would move him to a more a better profile or portfolio where he can be kept busy 24/7. This guy has too much time on his hands, and I have never voted for him, and I will never vote for him. He has an arrogance that's shy away from nothing. Have a good job. Bye-bye.
Hey, morning, Clement. Hey, with this thing of the PA. But yesterday, Ken Gunene on Shole Mashab, on your program, he did say that they have talked to the ANC. They have talked to the Premier. They have talked to the ANC, I think it's the interim structure of Gauteng. They've even talked to the SG. The SG have instructed Morero to do what he has been told. But Morero is ducking down. He doesn't want to appoint Kenny because he have already promised the position to EFF. So he did said yesterday, Ken, on your show, that they have talked to the ANC. They have already talked to the structures, even to Figile Mbalula himself. They have talked to him. That's why now they've come back and say, in 7 days, if this is not be done, therefore they are walking away. Thank you, Clement.
Kamu, you are calling from Johannesburg. What are your thoughts? Good morning.
Morning, Clement and 702. First and foremost, I'd just like to say I'm glad I never chose journalism because I don't know how you can sit in an interview where people just lie, and they think that we are from their villages, like we just believe these things. But in saying that, the DA, not the DA, the PA has taken script from the DA, as everybody knows. They have no capacity to make any type of threats. And I don't know, we are still talking about 7 days. That announcement was not made this morning, so we're speaking about less than 6 days now. Does this mean that Gayton is also going to resign as a minister? I think Mapantit, these former jailbirds, they really need to get out of the political space. We need to have a better caliber of politician. And this is not the type of people I want my children admiring one day to say, well, you can go to jail and you can still be a minister at the highest level. So they're not going anywhere. And Kenya, I just want to say wherever they hear this, there's nothing wrong with knowing criminals. But to come and tell us that you went there for an interview with journalists, please, we are not from your village. Thanks.
Kamu, wow. So I do think that we need to be fair to people who have gone to jail and have changed their lives. Unless there's, of course, evidence that contradicts that statement, right? I do think it's unfair for us to think, these jail beds. We must decide, are we living in a society that actually accepts that there are people that can go to jail, they can learn from their mistakes, they can be rehabilitated and come out and live a completely different life? It's like people who go to church or, who get born again or who get baptized, as Catholics or whatever, or they start going to, they've changed their religion, whatever the point is, and they used to do certain things before that. Do we then still hold them accountable for the past sins and mistakes when they have been held accountable? I think that's unfair. Unless, of course, there is evidence that suggests that these people who have been to prison are still doing the same thing that they went to prison for. Then I would understand from where you're coming from. But to just call them jail beds because you disagree with them, I think is a bit unfair. But to your point about Gayton Mackenzie, is he going to resign? I would like to see that. Maybe let him be the first one. When the 7 day lapses, let him be the first one that resigns as the Arts and Culture Minister. I'd like to see that. But also, if the ANC has also been instructed in Johannesburg that you have to process this, reappoint Kenny Kunene as MMC, why is the ANC then stalling in Johannesburg? Huh? William, you're calling us from Tembisa. Good morning.
Clement, my brother.
Sure, man. Go ahead.
Let me tell you, any arrangement, my brother, that it's not regulated, it's always difficult for it to be managed. Now, at some point, I remember Cocta and the deputy president, they were having this discussion about drafting a regulation that will manage this coalition. Because if these people will just decide today and say, I'm moving out, that affects the stability of the municipality, Clement.
Which tells you that they don't care about that, William.
Exactly.
They don't care about that. They care about their positions.
Exactly. And that's where the basic service delivery, it is at. Because if every day you are affected by a pothole, Clement, when you go to SABC, myself, if I leave Tembisa, my brother, it's as if I'm leaving a village. There are potholes everywhere. There's a storage that is just spewing all over the road. So if we do not have that regulation that will then make sure that it manages this coalition, because by look of things, Clement, we are moving to coalition, whether we like it or not. And the other thing, Clement, maybe just to in passing, Clement, my worry is about this lady in social development. And what we want as well is to say, maybe public service department, that one that regulates and also public service employment, to say, what is the basic requirements for one to become a chief director?
No, it's clear. It's clear, William. It's there in the regulations. It's clear what kind of qualifications you need to have before you can be a chief director or a chief of staff.
Then the minister insisted, even though she was told.
She insisted. But for me, it's not just the minister we must hold accountable, because this minister, honestly, I've never even seen her do an interview. So she runs away from interviews. The only time you hear her speak is when she's there in parliament or she's addressing some event. I'm running after the DG now, because the DG is the one who officialized the insistence of the minister. Because even when the human resources said to the DGA, this person you guys want to appoint doesn't qualify to be chief of staff. He has 1 year experience from a college, was distributing pamphlets. You're making her chief of staff to earn 1.4 million rand, and the DG still signed off on her appointment. Why did he do that?
Exactly. Ntate Manyathela, you remember what the commissioner, the police, Ntate Masemola said, there are some decision or there are some instruction that we are given and we do not agree with, but of which it's a career limiting, because I can tell you, Clement, I'm not speaking for these technocrats. But at some point, my brother, they are given instruction that they do not agree with, and they know, and they then tell their political heads to say, what we are doing is wrong. And let me tell you, political heads at some point, they don't care. That's why these accounting officers, they are the ones that are frequenting the court as we speak. Some of them, they have signed things that they know nothing about, or they knew, but because they thought they will be protected for a longer time, unfortunately, now the system is dealing with them.
Yeah, William, absolutely. I interviewed Somato Tafikeni, the Public Service Commissioner, also this week, because we were talking about what Fanima Semola said, that sometimes, as technocrats, as public officials, they get these unlawful instructions from the executive authority, right? The ministers, the politicians. And sometimes they do tell them that, no, this is not fine, but they insist, and they end up as public officials implementing those unlawful instructions, because that can be career limiting. But I do think that we can't easily justify that, guys. And I've got sympathy, and I've said this on Tuesday, I have sympathy for so many public officials, including Fanima Semola, who have been given unlawful instructions, and they try to reason with the minister. I mean, Fanima Semola even tried to go to the president, and he didn't get any assistance until he had to say, okay, fine, if we do implement this unlawful instruction, let's at least do it in this way to try and minimize the impact on the dockets that were already being processed. But here's the thing. Legally speaking, you have no ground to stand on. The minute you have implemented an unlawful decision, you can't come back and say, yeah, but I was put under pressure to do that. Unless you've got things in writing. So Somato Tafikeni was actually giving public officials some tips on what you need to do when you're receiving unlawful instructions. Put it on email. Show that you objected to it on email. Put everything else in writing. And I think The minute we start justifying actions of public officials, then we're going to be in trouble. Because all of them are always going to come and claim that, yeah, but the minister is the one who said I must do this. And then what? We say, okay, that's fine. Even though your actions have led to the department losing lots of money, your actions have led to people being appointed that do not qualify for those positions. Where does accountability land for you? I think that's a serious question to ask. So yeah, the minister must be asked serious questions, Minister of Social Development. But this DG, who received a letter that said, don't appoint this young woman, she doesn't have experience, and he still went ahead and appointed her. And by the way, this is a department that spent 3 million rand. 3 million rand to send people there in New York. Remember, I spoke about this when I was on the Breakfast Show just the other day. They spend so much money to send delegates to go to some conference in New York. And when you ask, okay, what do we get from that? Because you're spending this money every year sending these delegates. What do we get from that? They are not able to even tell you what's the value of that investment. Hey, yeah. It's about tobacco government. It's 28 after 9.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
9:33. Let's continue with your calls on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702.
Good morning, Clement. Eric here from Aikenhof, south of Johannesburg. Yeah, well, it goes with luck and connections in this thing of being employed. It's almost 4 years now. I've completed my diploma and my internship with the Johannesburg Health District. Still nothing even today. Like I've even went to an extent of applying for each and every vacancy that is there, even though I'm qualified as an HR practitioner. But no opportunities. You apply, that's the first and the last you will hear from anyone. No correspondence, nothing, no jobs. So I think that one was very lucky, perhaps. The one for the niece of the minister, maybe.
Morning, Madi Major. Mwaku in Joburg. Hey, Clement, a lot is happening under Ramaphosa's administration. No, man. The person they say was coming to save the ANC. People who are unqualified are given posts. A lot is happening. I saw the story of this 22-year-old girl. I also read about it. She doesn't have qualification, but she's a chief of staff, earning more than $1 million. Whereas we have people who are qualified, sitting at home doing nothing. No. A lot is happening under Ramaphosa's administration. What imagine? No. It can't be like this. And everything is happening as if nothing has happened. No, man. No, ANC can do better, man. No. No, a lot is happening. A lot is happening under Ramaphosa's, and Jacob Zuma was better, man. Because yeah. No, Mwaku and Joburg, have a great day.
Mwaku, the irony here is that the uncle of this chief of staff, this 22-year-old, the name of the uncle is Mr. Khatla. What's the first name? Isn't the first name Mwaku as well? Mwaku. Yes, your name is similar to the name of this advisor for the minister, whose niece was appointed chief of staff for the minister. Yeah, the drama here is not just that this woman doesn't even qualify to be a chief of staff and now earns 1.4 million rand from just working at a college in Limpopo where she's distributing pamphlets, and she did that for a year, and then she comes and okay, you don't make the stuff up. Her uncle was drawing 2 salaries. Her uncle was drawing 2 salaries from government. He was found to have contravened the Public Management Act. And what happens to her uncle? Nothing has happened to him. He was charged with 3 counts of gross misconduct when it was discovered that this uncle is getting 2 salaries from government. And then what happened to him? Well, Minister of Social Development says, I don't care about that. Come over here. Come be my special advisor. And then he comes and then says, listen, Minister, I've got a niece who's 22-year-old. I mean, do you think that the niece got appointed there without the uncle knowing? John, you are calling us from Kibla Park. Good morning.
Good morning, Madimecha.
Sure.
I'd like to start by saying that, I've almost seen it all, and I've worked under different parties. And my starting point is they're all the same once they're in government. Let me give you an example, Madimecha. I was one of the senior managers in one of the municipalities. Let me not say who it is. And I got in my view, an unlawful instruction. The same instruction that General Masemola got. And I dug in my heels. And I said, I'm not going to implement this instruction. To my credit, I put my reservations in writing. But guess what? The very same party that everyone now is calling holy, holy, holy. One of their MMCs came to my office, walked down the corridors and says, you are going to implement this instruction. And I said, no, I'm not going to implement the instruction, sir. He says, you are going to implement this instruction. And I said, I'm not going to implement this instruction because the implications are that you are now going to have to subsidize this consultant or developer using the municipality's money. And guess what he says? He says, I don't care, you are going to implement the instruction. And I said, no, I'm not. And then that's a last resort, which is what General Masemola needed to do. I put my reservations once again in writing.
Good.
And I said, I put it in writing and I said, okay, you want to implement the what you are giving me an instruction on, contrary to all the policies and directives. Now, these are the pros and cons. And then I left it at that, right? But I myself did not sign off on the execution of that. But I then got wind that that which they wanted me to do was done. And then I sat there in my office and I said, okay, let's see how this pans out. And guess what? Exactly as I advised. Now the municipality had to go and look for money and sort out the problem. So, I would like to add public servants, the guys that are public practitioners in the local, municipal or national. You really need, it's not about whether you are doing something that is career limiting, but stick to your principles. And if your principles are such that you are at a corner, you can't put anything, put it in writing. Put it in writing so that if there are comebacks, then you can then say, but I told you.
Yeah.
And Dr. Fikeni was right. Put it in writing so that at least, even if you are doing something that is career limiting, it's something that you can come back later on.
Yeah, because legally speaking, it doesn't fly to just say, oh yeah, but he forced me to do this illegal act. No. What did you do? You've got to be able to demonstrate that. What did you do? That's why Professor Soma Fikeni says, make sure you put that thing in writing. It's very important. It's 90 minutes now before 10 o'clock. John in Kibla Park, thank you for your call. Chilidzi, Edmund, Rakwena, Mike, I see you. I'll start with your calls after the break.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela
on 702.
17 minutes before 10 o'clock. Let's start with you, Edmund. You're calling from Soweto. Good morning.
Hi, Clement. How's it?
Sure, man. Go ahead.
Okay. Clement, I just want to quickly comment on this chief of staff appointed the Minister of Social Development or whatever it is. Clement, my worry is when these people waste money like this, taxpayers' money like this, and when you try to get hold of them, they don't want to come for interview. Where are we going with this? And is our president really taking us serious? Why can't the president be seen to be decisive and sack some of these ministers for this kind of actions. So this is worrying, Clement. And now, this young lady, I don't have a problem if she had qualifications. She doesn't have qualifications at all. Will she pay all the money back that she was paid?
Yeah, because that's accountability, right?
Exactly, Clement. And what disturbs me is that the ANC doesn't seem to be serious, to take us serious. Not so long, they will be walking our streets here, canvassing for votes to vote for them. Am I gonna really go vote for them when there's such wastage?
Yeah. Well, Edmund, that's a question you and I have to ask ourselves. Because are we naive enough to just have them come and just kiss your babies and have lunch with you, help you wash your dishes? Because that's exactly what they're gonna do when they campaign. Now, what are you asking them? So as voters, when these parties come to us, are we actually asking, what happened to this person? Why didn't you guys say anything about the social development minister who had a chief of staff who didn't qualify? Like, do we ask them these questions, or do we sit there, we laugh with them, we get starstruck, and then we go vote for the same people that we're going to come back after elections and complain about? So where do we take accountability as voters, I suppose, is a question I'm asking. Rakwena, you're in Pretoria North. Hi.
Good morning, Clement. How are you?
Hey, Tzara.
Yeah, man, look, this thing of this appointment is not a new thing, really. The whole public service has been used as a fiefdom by the ANC. If you remember, there was a time when the former President Zuma's daughter was also appointed as a...
I remember that.
Yeah. Now, you see, you have got this weakness in the system where you find that you have got these things of political appointments. Now, that loophole where ministers, for instance, are political appointments. That's why you end up with a minister who has got nothing to do with the army being a minister of defense, Now, you can see the trend there. And then as you move along, you go to DIRCO, you find that almost 75% of our ambassadors are political appointments. They've got nothing to do with international relations. But they are there, they are ambassadors. They don't have those qualifications. And the people who are career international relations practitioners are actually put under them so that they can do the work, and these ones are just on holiday. Some even call it a retirement package. Now, these are things that have destroyed this country. Now, there are three things that I have noticed that are actually destroying this country, which actually makes it difficult why we should always be having both the RAS conferences and so on looking for solutions. If you look at the tender system, that's one of the most vulnerable systems that has brought us to where we are, where corruption is all over the place, and they know it. And
that's why they defend it so much. I mean, every time the DA even proposes that we need to get rid of that system, they defend it because that's how they eat. Rakwena in Pretoria North, let's hear from other listeners. Thank you for your call. Chilidzi in Centurion, what do you think?
I think we have serious problems. But anyway, I think the other callers identified the problem correctly. Our problem is on our system, democratic systems. And as long as that doesn't change, we are still going to have the same problem where people will be appointed without qualifications and illegal instructions are given. But if we were, as the first step, change how we elect our president so that the president can be free of political parties, we elect the president directly like other democracies so that the president is accountable to the citizens directly, not to the political parties. Because if you look at the Masemola thing, Masemola goes to the president to complain about the illegal instructions being given. But it's going to the person who's in the same clique, who was even a fundraiser of the president campaign. Do you think they're going to fight over Masemola's thing? They'll protect each other forever. But if the president was independent of the party thing, was not a comrade of it's something else.
We're in trouble. Yeah, Chilidzi, we're in trouble. Now, In fact, someone was asking me earlier here that, hey, Clement, sorry if I missed it. This is on the WhatsApp line. It says, the last time I tuned into your show, you were waiting on your producers to fact check the relationship between Bejani Chauke, who is Ramaphosa's former advisor, and the president's nephew from the first marriage, whom the president has said he doesn't know, Morgan Maumela. That's the man who has been implicated in corruption and irregularities in the tenders that he has received from the Tembisa hospital. Well, in fact, I did have a quick chat with Jeff Wicks. And Jeff Wicks, remember, there's a listener who alerted us to Jeff Wicks' book and what it had revealed about the relationship between Bejani Chauke and Morgan Maumela. So what I want to do is I want to actually read that book. I want to read that book so I can come and have Jeff Wicks on the show so he can explain in detail that kind of relationship. But yeah, so far he has confirmed. He's confirmed exactly what that listener was alerting us to. But this is very deeper than we think. And that's why these people have not been arrested for the longest time. And thank God to General Mkonazi and the political killing stars team, because had they not come to Gauteng to try and help the detectives here, would we know? Would we be here now? Where there's so much that's making sense now around this syndicate and these business leaders that are linked and the protection that they may have received from above. I mean, if these people who have received multi-million rand, you should see the properties that they own. They own luxury boats. Like, you know, when people actually use money they didn't really work hard for, you see it in how they even spend it. Now, if those people somehow have relationships even with the president's advisors, surely that's supposed to concern us. Yes, it doesn't prove any criminality, but if the president's advisor, this man who was the president's advisor, has a very close relationship with a man who has been found to have been corrupt through his companies in working with the Tembisa hospital, and that's what he's being investigated for, we have to be concerned. Because that means, what was the nature of that relationship? And then there's the murder of Babita Deokaran in all of this. Because the ex-girlfriend of one of the business people says, I knew that Ket Matlala actually wanted to kill Babita Deokaran. That's the statement that she's provided to the police, Tebogo Tobejani, and it's believed that it's when she raised that concern that then Ket Matlala apparently tried to then murder her. And now you hear Ket Matlala's friend or business associate, Morgan Hangwani Maumela, now has links to someone who was an important advisor of the president. Hi, this country. 8 minutes before 10.
Your voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
5 minutes before 10 o'clock. Kamogelo in Mpumalanga. Good morning.
Hi, Clement. How are you?
Sharp. How's it?
I'm good. Yeah, no, Shen, this is very upsetting. You know what I feel like is mostly annoying when it comes to situations like this? These people are not even shy or embarrassed to do these things that they know are going to come out publicly, you know? And the reason why I'm saying this is this niece was not even offered at least an internship to say, okay, you know, let's just not make it suspicious, at least do an internship for a year so that, you know, it doesn't, you don't immediately go to a senior position. You just got the job and immediately you are the chief of staff.
Yeah.
You know? And what also I feel like is very upsetting is my husband, a couple of years ago, after he also did his diploma at Rosebank, when he was applying for internship, you know, he was actually told that they don't offer internship positions to students who did their qualification at private institutions like the Rosebank. Yeah, so I like this really just, it struck my nerve when I heard it. I was like, how the very same government institution that said, no, they don't offer positions to students who went to private colleges, but today the niece went to the very same private college, and then the niece is now in a position of power.
And not just any position, Kamogelo, a very, very senior position. So if you don't know, they're prescribed, these are the requirements, right, for the position of Chief of Staff. You need the qualification at NQF level 7 plus 5 years experience at middle or senior management level. This woman did not meet the requirements for that appointment in terms of these qualifications. None. And now they've just removed her quietly and they're going to pretend like that never happened. Well, we're going to stay on this and ask them some serious questions. The DG now has responded and says, yeah, the spokesperson can't also talk to you guys because we're in the same meeting. So I've just asked the producers to tell him, okay, you tell us when you can talk to us then. Yeah, I get it, they're in a meeting now. As soon as they step out or he's got 5 minutes for us, we'll take him whenever because he's ducking and dodging now. They think they're just going to remove someone and keep it hush-hush. No, it's not happening. Mike, you're in Midrand. Good morning.
Morning, Brother Dami. How are you?
Sure, man. Go ahead.
Good, thank you. Just a quick one. Ovana, what is happening with that young lady? Asumutlolo, it happens all the time. I happen to be working for the city of Joburg. Now, all those interns who have been placed in the MMC's offices, those are nieces and nephews of those MMCs, all right? And they've been put there all over. Now, if I may confess, now we are currently being run. Our HR is being run by interns who are clueless to the core. And they're dealing with our monies, they're dealing with our investments there, they're dealing with our nominated beneficiaries and the likes. The mess that is going on in that office, if you don't go to that office from time to time every year to go check and verify how in good standing you are, should you pass on, you are in trouble. There's so much mess going on there, Clement.
No, absolutely. Mike in Midrand, thank you for sharing that with us.